last few years have seen an explosion of interest in all aspects of the esoteric and the paranormal. Can we now say with any measure of certainty that there is something going on, that something, perhaps from beyond our Earth, is influencing events upon it?
Everybody listening to your program could do themselves a favor, is to start saying that behind every headline, behind every television news story, there's a whole other story.
I truly believe that extraterrestrials are visiting this planet. I think they have for centuries.
Our solar system, and particularly this planet right now with all its problems, overpopulation, pollution, we're a curiosity, and I think we're being studied very carefully.
I think that the U.S. government may have something to do with this. I do know one thing. There is certainly a cover-up going on.
Are we being lied to by our own governments? Are we looking at a conspiracy on a global scale, something that paranormal researchers like to refer to as the cosmic Watergate? If the experts were asked to pick out one hotspot for this paranormal activity, then the great majority would choose northern New Mexico.
We have over 450 events with well over 600 witnesses, and this stretches back to 1948. The very first civilian footage of UFOs comes from here, August 1948. Unfortunately, the government came and took it away, but not after hundreds of people had seen the footage at civic groups and church groups, where the guy who took the film would show it to people. I don't know of any other area that I've ever heard of anywhere that has the variety of paranormal phenomenon and the intensity of outbreaks of these phenomena.
The area is perhaps most renowned for its history of so-called cattle mutilations, a phenomenon which perplexes researchers and skeptics alike. That the cattle are being killed in a strange fashion is undeniable. Why they are being killed is a question yet to be answered.
Since I've started my investigation, I've been able to log well over 200 cattle mutilations, UFO reports, and other paranormal type events.
Extraterrestrial biological entities have been killing and mutilating animals around this planet since at least the 1950s. And our government knows it, and our government has not wanted anyone to pay attention to it or to realize it. Twice in my investigations of the animal mutilations, going back into the early 1980s, I was approached by men identifying themselves as working in government intelligence.
Linda claims that government representatives were directly responsible for curtailing her own investigation.
Look, we're trying to make this clear to you. We don't want UFOs and animal mutilations connected together in the public's mind. Now lay off. It's put to me exactly that way.
What's perplexing to me personally in my own investigations is that the number of times that these things show up simultaneously, or in what we call a flap area. We have cattle mutilations, we have what are called UFOs, sometimes described as classic flying saucers, and in that mix we have helicopters before, during, after mutilation events.
They aren't standard pieces of machinery, as reports from eyewitnesses confirm.
The postmaster of a town who had cattle walked outside because his whole house was shaking, but he didn't hear anything. And he walked outside, and the downdraft from a huge helicopter that was hovering just feet above him was blasting him with air, yet it was completely silent. The next day he went out and found 3 of his animals mutilated. Whatever is behind this is making it appear to people like ourselves and ranchers that they are actually dropping these animals from the air, and they may be removing them, taking them somewhere else, doing the experimentation on them and the surgery, and then returning them and dropping them. That's what it looks like.
These reports are confirmed by the autopsies that show in many cases broken limbs and unexplained strap marks on the bodies.
Oddly enough, we can't figure out where they're based, where they refuel. None of them ever has crashed or gone down due to technical problems. I find that rather remarkable if this is just a mundane helicopter event, if there is such a thing.
UFO researcher and former Apollo scientist Stanton Friedman believes that not all the sightings of strange objects in the sky can be simply explained away.
Are some UFOs secret government weapons? Of course they are. At altitude and that fast. Every single large-scale scientific study has produced a substantial number of cases, which not only can't be explained, that isn't enough, but where the appearance and the behavior indicate we're dealing with manufactured objects behaving in ways that we couldn't duplicate at the time.
Some researchers believe that the area around northern New Mexico is a hotspot for several good reasons, and those reasons are not necessarily ET related.
In northern New Mexico, there's a unique nexus of the United States Air Force and also the Department of Energy. There are two major Department of Energy research laboratories, one at Los Alamos, the other at Sandia, just outside of Albuquerque. Both conduct nuclear research. Both are involved in cutting-edge electromagnetic research and also in Star Wars types of research and laser research.
Another base in northern New Mexico was at the center of the first accusations of an alien presence on Earth. Its name, Roswell. After the alleged crash, the recovered bodies and craft were supposedly moved to the now infamous Area 51 facility in Nevada. One man who claims to have worked on the craft was Bob Lazar.
The briefing papers definitely confirm the existence of alien craft. The whole aim of the project was to take these craft, or the one in particular that I was working on, and try and duplicate its systems and subsystems with earthly materials. The work that I did basically entailed back engineering the power and propulsion system. And I opted to start with the power, the reactor that ran the craft.
Phil Klass sees Area 51's secret status as natural, given what is being tested there.
I have not been to Area 51, but Nellis Air Force Base, which is Area 51 is part of it, has good reason for secrecy because that is where they develop and test and evaluate new techniques, new tactics for winning the next war. And if we allowed anybody and everyone to come in and learn our new tactics, our new weapons, we might lose the next war.
I was brought into the hangar for one of the short duration tests, and the craft was already outside on the lake bed and lifted off silently and just drifted around for a bit. It's like seeing a house lift off the ground quietly. It's just, you can't imagine the energy involved to do that and not to make any noise at all.
It all gotten any indication that the U.S. has captured a UFO, recovered a UFO, or built UFO-type aircraft. When that happens, then you'll see the Royal Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, and other allied nations flying saucer-shaped aircraft and saucer-shaped bombers.
Well, whether it was recovered, given, or what, it was not built as a mock-up. It was an alien craft built on another world. There was absolutely no doubt about that.
The extent of covert military endeavor is, some believe, far-reaching.
There is a secret team of very powerful and very highly funded secret operatives working in the government that carry out all kinds of secret clandestine activities across the board in many countries around the planet. This bothers me. I think it bothers a lot of people. We truly don't know about many of these activities. We don't know what these people are doing. We don't know what they're up to.
Leah Haley claims to have been physically abducted by alien beings on several occasions. She believes that her own government and military are ultimately responsible.
I have plenty of evidence based on my own experience that there is a faction of our military and government that are abducting humans. I cannot name any military personnel who have abducted me, nor can I name any particular installations where I was taken. For example, there was one occasion where I was taken to a military base that was camouflaged in a hillside. I don't know how many floors were in that particular base, but I do know that it was hidden. The captors don't tell me anything except shut up, cooperate, we're going to blow your head off if you're not nice to us, answer these questions. There are some that have been present on more than one occasion, and if I were to run into these people on the street, yes, I would be able to identify them, but I don't know any names and locations.
Leah believes that the military are playing some kind of catch-up game with the aliens. Once again, these extraordinary claims are impossible to verify.
I get extremely angry and upset over the fact that my fellow human beings who should understand how I feel would kidnap me against my will and take me to secret facilities to try to extract information from me. I don't agree with the techniques that our military and government are using to do this. I would be more than happy to sit down with any agent and tell them exactly what has happened to me. And I still have many, many unanswered questions.
So why do governments tell us so little? Is it because they're scared not to be seen to be in control of the situation? Abductee and author Whitley Strieber thinks so.
I hope that the truth about government involvement comes out soon. My own opinion is that there is an extraterrestrial presence here that is compelling the government to act as it does in this area, and that it will come out only when that when whatever is here allows it to.
But if they are here, where can they be from?
I know that a lot of people don't believe in aliens, but I don't really understand how a person can have any type of intelligence and not believe. Here we are on this little bitty rock, and our galaxy is so massive, and we think we're the only life form here. There's no way. There's no way.
There are two stars in our local neighborhood that are 80 times closer to each other than the sun is to the next star over, and that are 1 billion years older than the sun and are just 37 light years away. That gives one an entirely new perspective on the whole business of man's place in the local galactic neighborhood.
Probably the biggest issue for me after 2 decades that haunts me to this day is what is the motive of extraterrestrial biological entities interacting with this planet.
I make one assumption about every advanced civilization, one able to traipse between the stars in the local neighborhood, and that is that they're concerned about their own survival and security. That seems a reasonable assumption because everybody we know thinks that way too. That being the case, you have to keep tabs on the primitives in the neighborhood, but only close tabs on those primitives who show signs of being able to bother you. I mean, you want to make a mess of their planet, go ahead. But if you're going to come out here and make a mess, that's another story.
Is somebody perhaps having a long, hard look at the human race, deciding that we are getting to the point where we pose a danger, perhaps, to our galactic neighbors, and frankly deciding to do something about it?
I think you would take the opportunity, as long as you're sending a mothership out that way, to check out our biological and chemical weapons, our nuclear weapons, the behavior. Trying to understand the behavior of Earthlings isn't easy. We don't understand ourselves.
One idea is that in some way the extraterrestrials are trying to change us as a race, to perhaps make us less dangerous.
They're very, very concerned about about this planet and the nuclear weapons and things. They're very, very concerned about it.
If you were an alien, would you want Earthlings out there? We killed 50 million of our own kind in World War II. We destroyed 1,700 cities. Every single day, 35,000 children died needlessly of preventable disease and starvation. What kind of a society is this?
Some researchers believe that we're under scrutiny from more than one race of aliens, and that this has been the case for some time. One man, the controversial and self-styled alien hunter, Derrell Sims, believes that the definitive truth may be within his grasp.
I have evidence that I've found that is rather amazing to me, where a being supposedly went through a window and everything. It left the imprints of its little hands and little arm permanently embedded inside the window as an image, which we hope to retrieve with an interferometer or with lasers and show us a three-dimensional holographic image of what went through the whole glass, so maybe we can get a better picture of that, and then we'll film that.
Derrell has plans to go even further.
I actually think that an abduction can actually be filmed, and there's a possibility that you could even film inside the craft. There are certain ways this could be done. It may take me 2 or 3 years to do this, I don't know, but that's a goal.
There seems to be one common denominator to every communication that any human that I've ever talked to, whether it was in the government or in the abduction syndrome, and that's the only insight that we have, is an issue of survival. Our survival having a connection to something else's survival. Are we in a symbiotic relationship with another intelligence that harvests our planet for genetic material and has been doing it for eons?
Many people have described seeing on ships and in experiences figures that seem to be a mix of human and alien characteristics.
I think one of the things they're doing is sampling the population for their DNA.
Some people have speculated that we're dealing, when we talk about the greys, with what humans one day evolve into. And it's been suggested that we're dealing with people from the future coming back through time to take genetic material, perhaps to revitalize the human race. That's an interesting theory when you look at declining sperm counts and declining fertility.
They would take me aboard the craft and put me on the flat platform on my back and take tissue samples and perform sort of gynecological exams. And one thing that they did was quite painful. They inserted a needle through the abdomen and extracted ova.
The evidence we have are consistent reports of women in this country and in other countries as well that they have gone through a complex series of reproductive processes involving implantation of some kind of alien-treated egg, removal of that, an incubation period on the ships that they see, hybrids they see later, being the hybrids brought to them to be nursed in subsequent abductions, and that's all experiential.
If you think you've been sucked through the window and gone on an alien craft, and this happens repeatedly, and it's going to happen to your children, and you've born alien babies, I mean, that's pretty far off what we believe is common everyday reality. And if you want to explain it in the standard psychological ways, people have to be very sick, and they don't test out that way.
If survival is a key issue, and that all of the information is saying our own survival as a species could be tied with whatever these extraterrestrial biological entities are involved with, our discovering what the issue is seems to me to be paramount. And I think that the government of the United States has been working overtime trying to understand that.
Are they going to work with our enemies? Are they here as the initial phalanx of a group that's going to destroy us? That's going to enslave us? That you don't know. So governments certainly have a big interest there. One of the reasons I give for governments not to want to release data is fear of economic chaos. If an announcement were to be made, some UFO sightings are alien spacecraft, they're here in peace. A lot of people, after all the excitement is over, are going to say, gee, those guys are coming here, we're not going there, they're more advanced technologically than we are. That means that soon there will be new methods of energy production. There will be new methods of ground transport, air transport, communications, computers. That's going to lead to utter economic chaos.
If I could find one scientifically credible case indicating that maybe we had extraterrestrial visitors, I would write the biggest story Aviation Week has ever published. I'd expect to win a Pulitzer Prize. But so far, after nearly 32 years, I have yet to find one case, one bit of scientifically credible evidence to indicate that the Earth has ever been visited by extraterrestrials.
It could be that there are those who are leaving clues conspicuously displayed for us and others to find. I can see that that could easily be the case. And following up on those clues and pursuing the investigation, I think it's entirely possible that we could discover the truth behind phenomenon such as the cattle mutilations.
It is clear that people in power, whether it's in the NSA or the CIA or the DIA or MI5 or wherever, want to keep that power. Letting the secrets out of the bag isn't the way to do that.
If governments are hiding information about the existence of extraterrestrial life forms, then we, the public, should be, at the very least, concerned. But if we believe that it would be impossible to hide a story this big for this long, it may mean that when we look up at the night sky, that is all there is, and we are indeed alone here in the universe. Perhaps this is the most frightening scenario of all.
Stay with Sci-Fi, as coming up after the break, we continue the new series,